Good afternoon, US. Good evening, UK. And hi, everyone. I hope everyone's well. And tonight I have a special guest. I have Mr. Alan Wright. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. How you doing?
I'm doing cool, thank you. It's a
That's
bit
good.
strange because it's your lunchtime. I don't think of I think of all the time differences, yours is the biggest one.
Yeah,
The guest I've
yeah.
spoken to.
That's
So
that's for sure.
it's kind of different, but yeah. So I always start with where did paranormal start for you? When was the first time that you realised that there's something else out there?
Well, first off, I'd like to say that I was born with these abilities, and my mother, my grandmother, and my great grandmother had abilities themselves, and so I inherited it from them. I'm pretty sure, but I knew from a early age that I had abilities. I saw my first apparition when I was about 5 years old. I hadn't even started school yet, and it actually
Wow.
scared me. My first one, I didn't know what the hell was going on. So
Yeah.
I got underneath the covers, kept peeking out, and shortly she left. It was she was looked like from the 1800s or something, a long dress, a long black dress, and
Wow.
she was staring out the window in my bedroom, and but she stayed there for about a minute or two and then she left, which gave me great relief. But
Yeah, I
anyway,
bet.
yeah. Um, uh, so anyway, I knew I had those abilities. I had to keep them hidden though. I couldn't tell anybody. It was hard for
No.
me to go to school and tell my friends, "Hey, I saw a ghost last night," or something like this, because I would have been laughed off the playground. And it was the same way in high school. I couldn't go around and tell people that. And, you can't go out on a date and tell the lady, hey, I saw a ghost, or your grandmother's sitting here beside us, I just couldn't do it. So,
That's it. It certainly wasn't open then. Like nowadays, it's more
yeah,
open, isn't
really,
it?
for sure.
But
Uh,
back in the day when I was a kid, no way. You'd be
yeah.
crazy, wouldn't you, if you said you'd talk? Hi, nice to meet you. Australia's Capture Paranormal, Sydney. Cheers for watching. But yeah, but could you talk to your family about it?
Actually, my family didn't even know about it. Most
Wow.
of them for the longest while. My best friend, when I started these shows, he started watching them, and when I was writing my books, he started reading my books. And he texted me one day, and he says, "I never knew you had those abilities." I was on a show where I did some readings and stuff for some people, and he said, "I never knew you did that." I said, "Yeah." I said, "I couldn't really tell you." But anyway, I'm retired now. I retired in 2010, and at that time, I decided that I would come out of the closet, so to speak. And it
Yeah.
made me wonder how many other people out there have abilities, and yet they keep them hidden. But I came out. I didn't care what people said, what they thought of me. I just went for it. My wife told me that I should write a book about my abilities,
That's
and
brilliant.
uh, I wrote the first book, Through the Veil and Back, and then I wrote another book and another book and another book until it turned out to my latest book, book number 9, and
Wow.
uh,
That's brilliant.
it's entitled "Things to Come," and I think that's probably my best book. I'm writing book number 10 now, but "Things
That's
to Come"
amazing.
is a good book. It's beside my first book and my book number 9 so far are my favorite books. Um, that being my first book, it's kind of like my baby. And then
Yeah.
the last book I wrote is tells people about things that's going to happen in the end times. And I touch
Right.
about on a lot of the things that's happening in the world today. And
Yeah.
I started writing this book about 2.5 years before uh, the pandemic and anything else. So some of the things I talk about hadn't even started yet, Or they'll read my book and they say, "Well, that's going on now. Why is he called a medium when I wrote the book before it was all any of it was going on?" So
That's
anyway,
it. That's the thing about being a medium. Like, you can be aware of things, can't you? And it's, or you might know something's about to happen. It's really odd.
yeah,
But yeah, it must be frustrating as well because you can't really talk about stuff sometimes.
yeah.
What you know is going
Well,
to happen.
I got. I was telling you I went on an astral projection, and it wasn't of my own doing. I went to bed one night, and the minute my head hit the pillow, I was boom, like in this vision. But it was different from a vision. It wasn't a out of body experience. It wasn't a uh, nothing. I couldn't tell what it was until people started talking about astral projections. And that's
Yeah,
the only thing I could compare it to was an astral projection.
you
Um,
just don't know though because I had a weird encounter which I mentioned to you, and it's took me 6 months of like freaking out, 6 months of like trying to describe it if I could describe it to people because I don't describe it because it was just too odd.
yeah,
And then like it's mentioning it to someone who who you can trust, but mention it to somebody who knows enough to say actually what happened and give you something that you can understand as well.
yeah. Well, I'm host on the crossover convention connection show on Sunday,
Yeah.
and when 3 or 4 mediums get together, it's like talking shop. We all talk about things that we know about. Yeah, it's a lot
Yeah.
different. When you go to work, you talk shop with your buds, and stuff like that. But uh, us mediums do pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
So
I kind of surround myself a lot with mediums anyway. It's just happening naturally.
yeah,
I did an event on Saturday and most people there were mediums. So yeah, it's great.
yeah,
It's something really different and it adds an extra dimension, doesn't it, to any investigations?
yeah, really. Yeah,
Oh, I like this.
you know,
Um,
my wife and I lived in a haunted house for 3 years,
wow.
but that's the only time that I have actually been in a structure that was haunted. Um, it's kind of weird. I've never been on an investigation. Uh, I I know there's a lot of people out there doing it,
Yeah,
but um, it's just something that I just didn't want to do.
that's right.
being a medium and dealing with spirits all the time, I kind of feel that those spirits are earthbound, the ones that's in these buildings and stuff. And it's like they can't get out on their own anyway, for whatever reason.
Yeah,
And I like to treat those spirits with a lot of respect, actually,
yeah, I do.
because they're there not of their own accord a lot of times, and they're dealing with things a lot of times over and over again, like their death,
Yeah,
uh, and they're dealing with everything that we probably cannot even imagine. So I personally, I don't like to disturb them. I would
okay.
rather have them come to me with messages and stuff. That way, I'm helping them. I'm also helping their families that hasn't heard from their say their brother or sister or father or mother since their death. and I kind of help them with that. I don't know how many people's broke down and had tears and was crying because I put them in touch with their loved one who had passed, and they
Yeah,
knew that I had done that because I had said things that I didn't know about it, and I was telling them things that their past loved one was telling me to tell them, you know.
yeah,
So uh, I feel that I help people in that respect, and I
yeah,
help
that's
the
good.
spirit too at that time. You know,
Yeah,
we have
because
spirits around us all the time. I know you do because I also know you're a medium too. If you kind of worked on your abilities, you would probably be able to give readings and do more than just investigate. Um, that
I can
you
give
see
readings.
spirits, don't you?
Hey,
You see spirits, don't you?
I don't see. I can. Oh gosh, I can see it in my third eye. I'm clairvoyant. Yeah, can see.
Yeah.
I can see in my mind's eye. I can't physically see them. Like some can see
Well,
that, but I generally know where they are.
I'm being told right now that if you allowed yourself to go that in that direction, that you will see spirits. And
Yeah,
probably the first spirits you will see will be your relatives that has passed, probably
yeah.
your grandmother or grandfather. And but anyway, here I'm sorry.
Oh, bless you.
Go.
Yeah, I've been doing development for about 7 to 8 years.
So
So
yeah,
we've got a guy on here, Ant. Ant's just joining us. He actually does development with me. So I used to work with
okay,
Ant on the team as well. So yeah, he's a great friend of mine. Um, we've got Irene watching. She's brilliant. She's from Japan, and she sort
oh
of does a lot of cases and helps people cross over. Probably
yeah.
seen Irene around sort of at times. Yeah, but
Did she
spirit
have
is
a
up.
question? Did she
Hey,
have a question? Did she have a
no,
question?
no,
No.
I
Okay.
haven't got any questions as yet. But when I do, oh bless Andy, Andy votes for that. And when I do have, if anybody has got any questions, then I'll certainly ask Alan. Yeah,
Yeah.
just watch out for the
Please do.
questions and then sort of ask them
I
later
think
on.
the last from Japan does have a question. I just have a feeling
Have
if
you
she
got a
wants to ask
question
it.
then, Irene, which you would like to ask Alan? It's about a minute delay, so Irene will sort of add to the chat if she's got any questions. But okay, this astral projection you did, it's absolutely mind blowing what I've heard. So, what's the full story on that then?
Well, I was telling you earlier, my grandfather died in 1982, and I was raised as a Christian. I believe in God and Jesus Christ and all that. I've read the Bible. Um, but when my grandfather was a father figure to me. Him and I used to do things that my other father never even asked me to do with him. He was more of a father to me than my real father. Anyway, when he passed in '82, I was really kind of lost. You know, it's like a hole in my heart, you know, type thing. I still went through the motions every day, you know,
Yeah,
and
it's
stuff, but
hard.
I was wondering where he was for sure, you know, even though I was taught about heaven and earth and, you know, and heaven and hell. Uh, I wanted to know for sure where he was at. I knew he was a good person. And so anyway, I went to bed one night and the minute my head hit the pillar was boom. I was in this, almost like a vision of sorts, but it wasn't a vision.
Wow.
But I, I was hovering up above this. scene down below me, up near the
Right.
rafters of the ceiling of this hospital room. I knew it was a hospital room, and
Okay.
I was looking down, and I realized that the body on the gurney that I saw was my own body, and
Okay.
and there was a doctor and a nurse there, and they were talking back and forth and stuff. And as soon as I recognized my own body, I started going through the ceiling of this hospital, and then I went through the roof of this hospital, and I was out in air, you know. And
Yeah.
anyway, uh, I could see a baseball diamond and this field that was all lit up. I was going higher and higher and higher, but I could see the lights of this city, and I realized that it was kind of a smaller town. It wasn't as big as Phoenix, as where I got the astral projection in. So anyway, but I thought it was beautiful, these lights around the city and stuff. I know I died at night. And
Wow.
anyway, I started going up faster and faster and faster, and I was picking up speed. And before I knew it, I was looking down on the earth. And the earth is so beautiful up there, you know.
Hmm.
It was had blue and clouds around and stuff. It was beautiful up there. It
Wow.
almost looked like a marble, like an agate or something, you know. And
Beautiful.
uh, at that time, the minute I was thinking that, a voice came to me, and it came straight through my head, like somebody placed it there. And it said, "The earth is perform." Oh, well, I forgot a part of it. Even though the earth is beautiful up there, I started thinking how ugly it was down there on the surface, the
Yeah.
wars and the murders and everything that
Oh,
goes
it's
on down
shocking,
there,
isn't it?
how mankind is treating the earth and everything.
Yeah.
I thought how ugly it is down there. And just as I was thinking that, a voice came to me, and it says, "The earth is fulfilling the purpose for which it was created." And that's a lot of information in that short little sentence there.
Yeah.
Number one, you learn that the earth was created and that
Yeah.
it's serving its purpose for the reason why it was created. And what is the earth's purpose? And I found out later the earth's purpose is to progress us, to further us, to make our spirit stronger. It's for our
Wow.
benefit. No matter what happens on the earth, it's for our benefit. And it's kind of hard to think about that and realize that, and to um, like if you've just lost a loved one, how can you say that that benefits you, but in some way that strengthens your spirit?
Yeah.
Um, I'll tell you about that stuff later. But anyway, I kept going up higher and higher and faster and faster, and all of a sudden I was in. I was as I was going up, I was thinking, what was my family going to do since I not with them anymore? Who was going to support them? Who was going to help them? And
Yeah.
that
I
voice
get you.
came to me again. It said, just as you had to support and overcome the obstacles and the hardships that you had to do, and the choices that you made, the things that you had to endure in your lifetime, your family also has to endure. And
Wow.
that kind of told me right there that um, we all have to go through this process. It's
Yeah.
birth, living, death, dying, and going someplace. That's what
That's
it's all
it.
about. You might think it's not for any good, but it is. But anyway, I kept going, 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 and all of a sudden I was amongst the planets, and I didn't
Wow.
realize before that the planets were of different colors. There's red
Okay.
and brown and blues and all different kind of colors. But anyway, I kept going up, faster and faster. And all of a sudden, the planets became like picket fences. Well, it's really fast, like I could see the
Yeah.
picket fences.
Wow.
And then it was just a white streak. And then all of a sudden it turned dark. I was going faster than light is all I can think of
Oh
because
gosh.
everything turned dark. And this made me fearful in a way because
Yeah.
I didn't know where I was going, why I was going there, or anything. And all of a sudden, uh, I saw a pinhole of light ahead of me, almost like a near-death experiencer would experience.
Okay.
So I, I focused my vision on that pinhole of light, and it kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And all of a sudden, I realized I was going to crash into this light because I was going at a heck of a speed.
Oh
But
my
all of a sudden,
gosh.
I started slowing down. And I was slowed way down, and I entered this light, and this light was everything you would want it to be. It was happiness and joy and compassion and love and all these good emotions. And you have never experienced love until you've been in that light. It goes
Wow.
straight through your body. It goes into every place in your body.
My
You
God.
can say you love your wife, your girlfriend, or whatever, but that's just an emotion with us. This emotion of love is something you can almost feel like it's tangible, that you can almost touch it because it goes
Wow.
right straight through you and you can feel it in every part of your body. That's the way all that stuff was, the happiness and all of it. And I never wanted to leave that light. I thought that was the best place I have ever been, and it was. Um, so anyway, I continued in this light for a while, and I looked ahead and I could see a man. I knew it was a man because he had a beard and he had long hair and he wore a white robe and he was wearing sandals and he was
Oh,
like leaning up against this big old rock or boulder or whatever. And I sure didn't know where I was at, but uh, it looked like Jesus. I'm not gonna
gosh. Yeah.
hold any punches here. It looked like Jesus.
Wow.
And anyway, just as I started getting closer to him, I blacked out, or
Okay.
uh, my memory was erased because I didn't remember that. And I still don't remember that right now. But
Wow.
anyway, when I woke up again, I was in this like meadow. It had high grass and some flowers in it. I could hear the insects buzzing around and stuff, and I didn't know where I was at. I
I
could
bet.
hear water in the background, like a stream or a creek, and I could see the tops of a forest, the trees in a forest, over on the other side of this meadow, or I don't know what else to call it.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I started getting my thoughts together, and I started to stand up. I realized there was a path that went divided this meadow and the forest. There was a path that went along the forest edge, and uh, I realized that I was in the middle, in the center of this circle of people, and I
Oh,
didn't know who these people were at first. And as I got looking around, I realized that these people were my ancestors who
oh,
had
wow.
passed on before me, and uh, and also close friends. But the one that I concentrated on was my grandfather, who
Gosh.
stood right in front of me. And we started, communicating back and forth. We expressed our love for each other and stuff like this. And he didn't have to talk. He did it all telepathically. And
Oh,
I realized I didn't have to talk either, that I was doing the same thing. I thought I could use my voice if I wanted to, but I didn't have to, and it was easier doing it the way we were doing it. So I just kept
it's
on doing it.
beautiful.
But anyway, my memory was erased again. I know I didn't black out, so they had to erase my memory. And the last thing I remembered of that thing was my grandfather and I was walking along this path. We were side by side, and he was telling me things, and that was it. And I woke up in the morning when I was supposed to wake up, uh, and I was feeling this like I had just met God in person. I had
Wow.
this glow about me. I felt like I was glowing. I never wanted to lose that feeling. That feeling stayed with me approximately 2 weeks,
My
and
gosh.
but after a while it just went away. But at the time, I didn't know what was going on, and I didn't know why. I did know my grandfather's all right now,
Yeah.
and I knew that I was all right now, and I didn't start learning things until I started. I was always a healer, and like I said, I always had abilities and stuff. But my abilities became stronger and stronger and stronger,
Wow.
and they're becoming stronger even today as we speak.
Yeah.
Just about 2 or 3 months ago, I realized that I can move things now with my mind that
That's
I couldn't do
fantastic.
before,
Yeah.
and I use that actually in my healing now. Um,
Okay.
I bought a lime tree about a week or so ago, and on the trunk of this tree it had like hairs off from it, and I poured water into the container that it was in. I had peat moss and stuff like that, and I had it all ready to go, but except for the very top of it. And as I was watching the water and stuff, I realized that those things were moving around. Almost looked like something from uh, uh what's the name of that movie? Vivitar? No. Anyway, they started moving
Uh,
around, almost like in motion, like I don't know
wow.
what. And I motioned for my wife. I said, "Come on over here." I said, "Are those things moving around?" She said, "Oh man, that creeps me out, Alan. Don't do that no." But
Brilliant.
she ran back over. So I knew they were moving, and I knew I was
Yeah.
causing it. It's kind of strange, but I think I helped that tree grow because
That's
it's
brilliant.
really going great now. It's unreal, and I only have it in just a pot, and some soil and stuff. But it's going like a green gangbusters. But
Oh, that's
anyway,
fantastic.
I'm going to tell you some of the things. As I got older, uh, bits and pieces of information came to me, and the only way it could have came to me was at this time when I saw my grandfather.
Okay.
One of the things I realized is I thought, about 8 hours of time there from the time I went to bed until the time I woke up. Uh, but in actuality, they have no time there, no time whatsoever.
Okay.
In actuality, I could have been there a year, 5 years, 10 years. I could have been
Yeah.
there 20 years. And I realized then they brought me back to when I was supposed to be back. But uh, I learned so much while I was there, it was unreal.
That's
One of the
brilliant.
things I learned was there is a heaven and hell.
Okay.
I was shown the 9 levels of heaven. There might have been more, but there's no less than 9.
Wow.
My grandfather is on the lowest level of heaven. He was on the level that I like to call paradise. And the reason why I call it paradise is because I think it's the level that the Bible calls it in the book in the New Testament when Jesus was being crucified on the cross. If you remember, he was between two criminals, and they were
Yeah.
being crucified also. And the one being as he was, he said, "You be the Son of God. You get me off this cross, and get yourself off this cross and prove it." Type thing. I'm paraphrasing really bad, but that's basically what he said.
Wow.
But the other criminal looked at him and he said, "Lord, when you enter your kingdom today, please remember me." And Jesus says, "You'll be with me today in my kingdom." So, uh, and he called, "You'll be with me today in paradise." That's what he said. So that's why I like to, even though this criminal probably has done so much in his lifetime, he was still let into the kingdom of paradise. My
Yeah.
grandfather's there, I know for sure. I learned from that is most of the most of the sins that we commit on this earth, we pay for on this earth.
Yeah.
You've heard of, you know, what do they call it when something comes back around to you? It's, it's,
It's karma, isn't it?
yeah, but things that you do, you pay for in this lifetime. A lot of them, except for
Yeah.
the more serious ones, like the war now in, you know,
Oh
the
gosh.
Ukraine.
Nightmare.
There's going to be a lot of people paying for that, and
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
Putin's going to be paying for it for sure. But like stealing a candy bar when you're 12 years old or something, you're going to pay for that in your lifetime. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of other things you're going to pay for in this lifetime. Uh, if you hadn't done those little minor sins, your life would be a lot happier and smoother, and you probably would have a lot more friends and so on and so forth. But anyway, I also learned that there is a hell, and that hell has at least 5 levels.
Wow.
And I was always taught that hell was fire and brimstone, and you're going to go there. And I think that they were just basically saying that that's the way it felt if you were there,
Yeah. Okay.
because I had the opportunity to go there, if you want to call it that.
Well,
And there's 5 levels, like I said. But those spirits that's in hell right now, they can work their way out of it by, number one, uh, learning the ordinances and laws of the universe,
yeah.
expressing a desire to be like somebody else, that's good, like Christ, and also to uh, basically just say that you have sinned and you're sorry for what you have done.
Yeah.
But as you do those things, you can move from one level up to another level, up to another level, up to another. Now, I don't
Yeah.
know how long this process takes. It says in the Bible it's forever, but I think that forever means it's for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And I really don't know if you can get from the highest level of hell over to the the lowest level of the kingdom of heaven, which is paradise. But then on the heaven side, you can also do the same thing,
Yeah.
uh, work your way up those levels. But anyway, that's I learned those every. Now I kept wondering why. I need a drink of water. I'm sorry,
I
drink.
guess you.
I often wonder why they did it that way. Why wasn't I shown and told all this stuff
It's weird.
as I experienced it?
Yeah,
But
it's
I think
strange.
that this stuff would have probably blew my mind,
Yeah.
and it would have made it where it would have been bad for me. So what? that's how they did it, and they erased my memory at times that I had this stuff experience in it.
Wow.
So anyway, there's a lot of things like the no time thing I learned of. Uh, I learned that our ancestors, the good ancestors that's not in hell, they are helping. There's a pre-existence,
Right.
and the Bible says this life is everlasting. If something's everlasting, then it lasts forever.
Yeah.
And so it would stand to reason that there's a pre-existence, that we were not in a life didn't begin at birth. Our life began way back when, probably, or
Yeah.
it
I,
never,
I, I
you
was going
know,
to ask you about past life regression
uh,
and sort of
our
multiple
spirit.
lives.
Another thing they told me is our spirit is electricity, it's energy,
Yeah.
and according to even scientists say, you cannot destroy energy.
That's
You
right.
can only change it. That's the only, in the process that we go through in our life, that's what we're doing. We're changing our energy.
Yeah.
And, and as we progress through this, we're born, we live our life, then we die, and we move on to our afterlife.
Yeah.
And in the Bible, it says that we can become like Him. Now, the Him is God. You think, well, that I can't accept that. How can I be like God? But
Mhm.
it's it's learning the things that you have to learn of the ordinances and stuff of the universe, so that you can get up on those top levels, and you can become like Him as far as education and stuff, knowing what those things are.
Yeah.
Uh, Christ and everybody, Jesus Christ and the prophets and everybody had to go through the same process. But
Mhm.
anyway, um, that's I can tell you more as I get into it, but that's about it. Is there any questions from anybody or?
We had some like more personal questions about the people, but I'm not sure if it's still around and it's coming up as Facebook user. So if anyone's got any questions, do you just want to ask in the chat? You have any questions for Alan? Um, yeah. Let's see what
Do
comes
you have
through
any?
really. Not yet. There's some questions. One was a personal one about somebody and the outcome of a court case, but I'm not actually sure if she's still around.
What's that?
I'm not sure who it is. It just says Facebook user, so I don't actually know if they're still watching. So they've got a court process going on at the
Where
moment,
will ours court?
but I don't know who it is or actually if it's still on the line.
What court process is that?
I'm not sure. That's the thing. I don't know if the person's still here, and it just says Facebook user. So
Oh, I
it's a
see.
bit, yeah.
Uh,
So if we see if we've got any sort of newer questions. Oh yeah, there. Okay. So the person's actually here then. So what sort of court case? So where will the court process go then? Have you got any questions on that, Alan?
well, the process for a lot of people who's committed like murder is going to be where they have to stand before the judge.
No,
And
I think it's about this person specifically. Are you getting anything on a mediumship level from them, or would you get a message through, or does it work
well,
differently
I
for
got
you?
all this from when I was there in when I saw my grandfather. They
Oh,
threw
okay.
all this stuff at me, and when those bad people die, they're going to go to hell, and
Yeah, it's
then
not
they're going to
murder.
be judged for their crimes, whatever they did, and they'll be placed in a level of hell at that time. And Uh, Similarly, the process will go on the heaven side also. If you just lived your life, a good life, never did anything wrong or anything, you'll be like my grandfather in paradise. But if you're like Sister Teresa, you
Oh
could be
wow,
up on
yeah.
the top level, you know. Because one of the things I found out while I was there was they didn't ask me what church I went to. They didn't ask me what religion I was a part of. They wanted to know if I loved people. They wanted to know if I loved my wife, my family. They wanted to know if I loved the world and if I
Yeah.
loved the people of the earth. And you know, they told me one of the things also is every living thing on the earth has a spirit. Everything,
Oh
insects,
yeah.
animals, even the earth itself is a living organism with a spirit. That includes uh, the surface of the earth, uh, all the trees and everything. They have their spirits. Um, you know, the American Indians believe that Mother Earth uh, has a spirit,
Yeah.
and
That's it.
so it wasn't anything far fetched as far as I was concerned.
Yeah.
Uh, but even then, Earth even has to go through that living process. And we're entering a time right now where it's called the end times in the Bible. And that's the time that we're entering right now. It's the time that the earth is starting to cast off the things that was done to her. And, um, the human race is gonna be paying for it for a time. After
Yeah.
this
Things
period
are
is over
certainly
with, then
changing.
what's that?
Things are changing, and people are realizing the
Yeah,
environmental impact of things now, aren't they? More
yeah.
definitely.
Um, I was told that as far as climate change, it's too late. No matter what they do, they're not going to be able to change it. And I was wondering why they didn't tell me this before. Why I couldn't set up, do something before to let them know that, you know, it was too late or they only had so many years to go or something. Because they've been talking about this climate change for a long time and that they could reverse it. But now it's too late.
Yeah, it
When I
certainly
wrote my
seems that
book,
way.
you know, 2.5 years ago, that's I was told then it was too late. They can never change it, no matter what they do. So
Yeah.
what does that mean for us? We're just gonna have to grin and bear it, you know?
Well, yeah, we're going to have to deal with it. Like,
Yeah,
we're getting more rain in the UK. We're probably going to lose some of the coastline because of erosion,
exactly.
the extreme weather, the storms, things like that. The
We're
water's
gonna
going to
have
get
to
higher, isn't it?
we're gonna have to
Oh,
pay
well,
for it. It's what we're gonna have to do. We're gonna
yeah, that's it.
prepare for it. Prepare for it. If you live in a climate where you used to, well, get a garden, grow a garden. Like myself, I planted fruit trees. I got tons of fruit trees around the house. We bought
I
the house
think,
2 years ago and I started planting fruit trees. And that was part of it. My wife wants a greenhouse. She wants to put vegetables and stuff in it. And I also want to plant a garden. And that's
yeah,
some of the things uh, we wanted to can the fruits and vegetables that we grow. That's part of being prepared for what's coming down the pike now. You know, if you just sit
yeah,
there and say, "Well, the government's going to take care of me," well, I got bad news for everybody. The government's going to fall at some point. I don't have a definite time limit, but I do know that it's going to fall. Most of the governments in this world are going to fall, and
well, it's kind of
so
it's all changed at the moment, isn't it? Like with like extreme prices of fuel, and obviously it's going to hit produce, it's going to hit everything,
exactly,
isn't it?
you know.
So if we
Uh,
can grow our own, it's better
Yeah,
that way, isn't it?
it's gonna be even harder. They talk about the homeless and the poor people. Well, what's the homeless and the poor people gonna do now with gas prices the way they are? and the prices of things going up. I was
Yeah, it's
also told that there's going to be more shortages of food and non-food items, even like toilet paper and paper towels and stuff like that. It's going to be another shortage of that stuff. Um, so we need to prepare for that. We need to make sure our families are being taken care of, where we can meet what's coming down the tubes for us. I I was saying a year and a half ago that because of this COVID-19 pandemic, that I felt a stir in the spirit world. I knew something was coming, but I didn't know what. And well, this was about 2.5 years ago. And I was told
yeah,
at that time something big was going to happen.
yeah,
I didn't know what it was. And then about a month or two later, found out that it was this pandemic. It was COVID. And I
right,
was also told at the same time that the families should get closer together. I didn't know what they were telling me, but they should get closer together. And I found out lately here because it's families being together is more strength there. You
yeah,
might have somebody that's good at doing something and somebody else that's doing better doing something else. So the families have to get together and be stronger as a group. You don't have to live together, but you ought to become closer where you're not fighting and bickering and stuff like that. But
that's it.
anyway,
I hope people have learned, it was an eye opener for us, well, those 2 years really, weren't they? Because, we were in lockdown in the UK, you couldn't go and see your
yeah.
families, things like that.
Well, see, if you
Mm.
were at your parents' house, you would have been okay pretty much. I've give readings to people who are single, who were in their apartments during that lockdown, and they couldn't go anywhere, couldn't have anybody come over, and they were lonely. They
Like
were
me, yeah.
absolutely lonely.
Like
They,
me. That's why I did online shows.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's why I
they were
started doing these shows, because
they
I
were
am on
wanting
my own.
readings and to see what was happening to them. They wanted to know what was going on with them, if it was
Yeah,
ever going to change for them. And I think a lot of them was kind of thinking about suicide or whatever.
yeah,
I
it's
want
just,
to tell you of an experience when I went to hell. I saw the levels of hell. I was wondering, it was the same process there. I was wondering what I was doing there, number one. And, but I ended up on a trail and it was like a gravel trail there. And I started walking along this trail, wondering where I was going to go or whatever. And I felt something behind me. And as I kind of glanced behind me, there's four shadow people following me.
oh wow.
And I didn't know what they were going to do. They were just kind of like jumping back and forth around back there
Yeah,
behind me. So that made me really fearful. And I was walking along this path and there was buildings on both sides of this path. And it was dark down there, very dark. I couldn't even hardly see my hand in front of me. And these buildings were like shadows. And there was no living thing down there as far as trees or grass or nothing like that. And
wow.
I saw windows in these buildings, but there was no lights on, no light whatsoever anywhere. But as I was telling this story, a person on one of the other shows asked if that might be considered a jail, those buildings, since it was hell. Could it be a
Okay.
jail? And I said, well, I, it could be. I wasn't told that, but it could have been a jail because there was no lights on and it was rooms there. Why would they have windows? Why would they have the buildings? So it could have
Yes.
been a jail, like, and Then I was also asked if the different levels could be different dimensions. That's another thing they didn't tell me. At least I don't remember them telling me. But at the time, I thought, yeah, they could be different dimensions. Those levels could be like on different planets or whatever. Um, so yeah, it's very open. I just saw those levels or those dimensions, whatever they were, of heaven and hell. But anyway,
Yeah.
I kept walking along this path in hell, and I saw this um, spirit. He's the only one I saw down there, besides the shadow people behind me. And he was peeking around this corner of this one building, and he was motioning for me to come over. He wanted to talk to me,
Okay.
and I got over as close to the edge of the. I was afraid to leave the trail for fear I wouldn't be able to get back on the trail. And so I got over as close to the edge of the trail as I could, and he kept motioning for me to get closer. And I said, "No, what do you want?" And he kept motioning, and I said, "Look, what do you want?" And he says, "You wanted me to." I had I had association with him when he was alive and on this planet. His wife knew I was a healer, and she used to call me a couple times a week because she got these really bad headaches, and I would go over and do a healing on her to relieve the pain. And
Yeah.
he would answer the door. He didn't like me at all. I think he thought I was a crackpot or something, you know.
Okay.
And I don't know why he would think that since I would healing his wife of these
Yeah.
headaches, but he didn't like me. He opened the door and closed it, didn't say nothing to me, and then went off in the kitchen or living room or whatever. So anyway, that's where I met him. Now he's wanting me to help him, and I said,
Wow.
"What do you want?" And he says he wanted me to get him out of this place. And I told him,
Okay.
I said, "I can't do that. You got yourself here, and I
Yeah.
can't get you out." I said, "There's no way I can get you out of here." Then he wanted me to relieve his pain while he's down here. And I told him I couldn't do that either. That I didn't have any power down there, no forces on me to get him any relief or get him out of there.
Yeah.
And he was fearful, and he was fearful because he was um, he had killed somebody in this life, and he was afraid that the guy that he killed was down there with him. And he was afraid he was going to meet that guy. So he wanted to get out of there, you know. Well,
Oh
that's a
gosh,
part
I
of
got
being
you.
in hell. That's part of being in hell, you know. If you kill off
Wow.
1,000 people, and you might have 1,000 spirits down there, or
Waiting
some of them
for you.
anyway, that want to get you, you know.
Do you think? Do you think people can come and get you on the Earth plane? Do you think
On what?
do you think there can be links to your past from
Uh,
a past life who and these people are hanging around in spirit on
oh
the Earth
yeah,
plane? Yeah.
definitely. I think if you've done people wrong, I think their spirits are probably hanging around you now. They're probably
Yeah.
just waiting for you to die. That's the way I see it. Um, I told you I know spirits are around me all the time. And
Yeah.
the reason why they are around me and my wife, she's also a medium, a psychic
Oh, that's
medium.
cool. That's brilliant.
And that's the only way we can stay married. We know what's going on
Oh,
with
bless
each
you.
other. you know,
That's
you
cool.
know. But they know we can relay messages from them to their
Yeah.
loved ones and stuff like that. And that's the reason why they hang around me. When they know
Yeah.
I'm on a show, a lot of times it's like a bunch of football players trying to get to my get to me, you know, because they want to be the first to get to my to me to give the message to you or
Yeah,
whatever.
that's it. Yeah.
Um, I've been able to give messages to uh, hosts of shows before they broke up. They just took over the show, and I told him I
Oh,
had to give him a message. It was somebody from the UK too, I think. But anyway,
yeah.
I had to give him a message. His twin brother died, and his twin brother was there wanting me to give him a message.
Oh,
And
bless you.
he was just stalled. The
Yeah.
program went quiet for about a minute, and that was a minute of airtime. He, he was just quiet. He was flabbergasted
Yeah,
because,
I've had messages because I do speak to a lot of people,
yeah,
and there have been messages through for me when I've been talking to people.
yeah,
And I was on a show and there's me and a co-host, and I don't know, it just wasn't doing very well that night for some reason. And then a medium to my mum, and he gave me a lot of messages, and somebody like watching was like giving me like loads of messages of
yeah,
family,
yeah,
which was absolutely amazing.
right, yeah.
And
I
she
was
would
on
have
a
loved
call.
this.
I was in a call-in show one time, and there was this guy. Oh, there was this one lady that called up, and she was all upset. I could tell she was crying,
Oh,
and she
sad.
says she knew I was a healer,
Yeah.
and she wanted to know if I could help her heal her. And I said, well, I don't know what seems to be the problem. And she says, well, I've been to psychiatrists and everything. They say that I'm crazy. And they said that they keep giving me medications, but it makes me feel like I'm dead on the inside.
Oh,
And she
right.
says, I just can't live this way. She says, is there anything you can do for me? And I said, well, I'm going to tell you right now, you're a medium. I said, you have abilities.
Wow.
And I told her, uh, I said, as far as you, I said, do you see people when they're not there? She said, yeah. I said, do you talk to people that's not there? And she said, yeah. I
Hmm.
said, that shows you. I said, right there, you're a medium.
Yeah,
And I
that's
said,
it.
you need to get, I said, as far as seeing things, I said, I've seen things that would make a normal people run down the street yelling and screaming and going like that.
Yeah.
But I said, yeah, you need to learn how to deal with that stuff, and you need to get with somebody that's a medium and ask them if they would help you as far as how to be a medium, what happens,
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
We have
And
development lessons in the UK.
yeah,
So you can have a development lesson where you sort of learn how to use it or
really,
learn to open up and things like that. Yeah.
it's really good, when like myself, and I think you were born with abilities also. When somebody was born with these abilities, we can tell them how to use them, what to expect, and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, when I got through talking to her, she was actually laughing, and
Bless.
she said, "Thank you, Mister Right." But I think there's a lot of people that's judged as being crazy when they're not. They're
Yeah,
just people
I've
that,
always wondered that
yeah,
because it was easy. It's the easy option, wasn't it? Like back
yeah,
in the day, you weren't allowed to speak about ghosts and this sort of thing. So it was just the easier option to put them in an asylum and just say,
yeah.
right, there you go, take these tablets, sit in a corner. And they
Uh,
just treat people like that because they didn't want to accept anything else, did they?
yeah, I greatly believe that that's what happens.
Yeah.
I just wonder how many people die in asylums that were just put
Oh,
there
it's
because they
shocking,
were
yeah.
gifted. They were
It's like
gifted, is what it is.
it's like the exorcisms as well.
Yeah,
From the other perspective, was it actually spirit or was it because they did have issues?
uh,
And you've got that one as well, haven't you?
yeah.
Did they look at the medical side of things before they
You
got
know,
a priest out?
I know to a normal person, I'm probably some freak of nature or something, and they can't deal with it.
Yeah, that's
If they
right.
can't. relate to it, if they can't understand it right away, then all of a sudden they don't want any part of it, and they think it
Yeah.
comes from the devil. I don't know how many people told me that I worship the devil. And that's so far from the truth. I
Yeah,
don't go
that's
to
it.
church, but I sure don't worship the devil. You know, like I said, they didn't want to know my religion. They didn't want to know what church I belonged to. And I was told that the churches of the earth, they're there there's some religions out there that cause more murders and stuff than criminals have. Uh,
Yeah,
but
definitely.
they told me that as long as you belong to a church that teaches what
Hi, Ben.
Sister Teresa taught, then you'd be all right. What is that? Clothing the poor, feeding the hungry, so on and so forth, like it says in the Bible. If your church teaches that and then performs it, then you're in the right church. Don't worry about it. But if you
Yeah,
go to a church and they say you have to go to heaven by doing this and this and this, oh, by the way, you have to go to a car wash on Saturday. No, 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 no. That's,
yeah. A
you're
lot of
in the
it was
wrong
to
church already.
scare. A lot of it was to scare people, though, wasn't it? To make them go to church, to make them do whatever.
Well,
Some ways.
I know a lot of churches chase people away from God, you know. Uh,
Okay.
that's the reason being is they weren't in the right church to begin with. And
All
that's
right.
that's bad too. But anyway,
Yeah.
um, any questions yet?
Yeah. If anyone's got any questions for Alan, then please add them to the chat. So, so you sure it was like this astral projection was down to spirit then, nothing else? It was sort of spirit side, not because
Well,
obviously you've
I'm,
got the alien side of things as well, haven't you?
yeah. You know of the Phoenix Lights?
I've heard of them.
I was only about 10 miles away from that when it happened. I
Oh
could
my
see the
gosh.
lights in the distance. And I've also seen a UFO I was walking my little chihuahua one night. It came out the door. He had to go relieve himself. And while he was
Yeah,
sniffing around and stuff,
bless him.
I was looking at the stars that was up in the sky. And I noticed this one star that was not supposed to be where it was at in the
Yeah,
sky.
that's it.
And as I was watching it, it started moving. And I'm going, whoa, what is that? Thought maybe it was a blimp, but it wasn't a blimp. There was no lights on it whatsoever. Wasn't any lights on it whatsoever. It was like silver or something. But it
Wow.
started moving and it was moving right towards me. And it started getting almost right over the top of me. Then all of a sudden it made a 90-degree turn and shot off. I'm sorry. I need a drink. Just a second.
Okay, that's you. I've kind of seen a UFO once, and you just don't know, do you? You know, you can't explain it, and
But I got the impression they were watching me because the
yeah,
minute they got right over almost to the top of me, then they shot off like a bullet off to the northeast.
wow,
And I mean, couldn't have been anything man-made. Nothing man-made could go that fast and have a person inside because it would have died from the G forces. I mean, it was just a streak. It was gone. And
gosh,
I'm sitting there wondering what I just saw. And then I realized it was a UFO. It
yeah,
had to be a spaceship of some kind.
wow,
And I went in and reported it to MUFON,
yeah,
and they took down all the information and everything. And he told me there was actually a lot of uh, UFO sightings in my area where I lived anyway. So uh,
Yeah, Arizona is.
at the time, I think it was kind of scary, but
I did have a guy from MUFON on here a few weeks ago, and oh wow, it's just mind blowing. Really was.
yeah, really.
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant.
Want to
Yeah.
talk about the haunted house that we lived in?
Oh yeah, go on.
Well, it was the first house that we bought after we got married. We moved into it. It was a small house. It was only a one bedroom, one bath. And, but it was all fenced in. It had a carport and everything. It was a pretty nice little house. But it was, just before the housing thing in the United States, where the prices of houses was shooting up like every
Yeah.
day. And we paid a high price for this house to get into it. Anyway, once we moved into it, we didn't notice anything. And, boy,
You're right. Oh gosh, something
we
getting
didn't,
you through it.
I can't talk, I'm losing my voice.
Bless you.
We, well, I'm going to have to quit. I can't talk.
Oh,
I'm losing my voice.
oh,
That could
bless
be
you.
spirit too, you know?
Yeah, it could. It's happened to me. Yeah. Okay.
But we lived there for 3 years. We saw shadow people. We saw, what else was there? All kinds of stuff. I came home from work one day. There was hundreds of flies in the windows of
Okay.
the dining room and kitchen area.
Wow.
That had to be an evil presence.
Something. Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't want to spray it with poison, the flies, because of our dogs.
Yeah.
So I started swatting them with fly swatters, and it took me about 2 hours every night to kill them. But I did kill them,
Wow.
and but this went on for how long? Yeah, before she got home from work, I did. But anyway, no, it wasn't that long, was it? A couple of weeks. But anyway, every night we do this. But after we didn't see anymore for a while, we'd sit there and watch TV. We have a big 65-inch TV, flat
Wow.
screen. We're
Cool.
sitting there watching TV, and all of a sudden, boy, all of a sudden we see these flies flying up in the light of the TV. So I got the fly swatter. I was going to start killing them.
Yeah.
There wasn't any. Remember what I said? Every living thing has a spirit.
Yeah.
Those were ghost flies. I was seeing their spirits. I had
My God.
killed thousands of them. Now they were, they were
Oh my
flying
God.
around in their spirit.
That is crazy. That really
Yeah,
is.
that's crazy. There wasn't a fly to kill. They were in spirit form, and they didn't last very long. They just fly up into the TV, and then I didn't see anymore.
Oh
But
my
every time
God.
we turned on the TV for a
Oh.
few days, it did that. Yeah, it was creepy, very creepy.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
And
My God.
I started when I went to bed at night. I'd go fall asleep, and all of a sudden, this thing would bum rush me and scream in my ear as loud as she could. I knew it was a
Oh.
female, and it looked like a witch. The long nose, all the stuff, spindly little
Yeah.
arms and legs, and a jaw that dropped down here. And she'd scream and yell in my ear as loud as she could. And the only way I could describe it was we called it a banshee because that's what it
Oh
sounded
wow.
like.
Dear me.
And so we called it a banshee on Dunlap Avenue because That's where we lived. And
Okay.
what else did we experience there? We experienced some things moving too, didn't we? Oh yeah, we'd be watching TV and they turn the TV off on us. Uh, the
I've
lights
had
would
that
turn.
happen.
Yeah, the lights would turn on and off in the house. All kinds of stuff like this. So
Wow.
anyway, I had a friend that come over, a friend of ours come over, and we blessed the house and
Okay.
we cast out all these things.
Yeah.
And when it was over and said and done with, we got rid of everything except for the shadow people. And
Okay.
I think shadow people in reality is something that's not of this earth. I really do.
Right.
I think
Okay.
they're from another dimension. You know, uh, because well, the ones we saw were bouncing back and forth in our hallway to go to the bedroom, and
Right.
they never made a move for us. They acted like they were watching us. You know,
Okay.
like taking notes or something. You know, I don't know,
Oh,
spies or
bless you.
something. But like I said, we couldn't get rid of them. The blessings and everything didn't get rid of them. But we decided that was okay because they didn't disturb us.
Yeah, that's right.
And we're not going to mess with them either. I got a feeling that we could be hurt by them if they wanted to hurt us. So,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, it
So
was interesting living
why
in
do you
that
think
house.
it was haunted? Why do you think the house was haunted?
Well, for one thing, we were taking up part of the floor, or underneath this rug, there was a pentagram.
Okay.
And we saw different things in the house. We were told, number one, too, that uh, the house laid vacant for quite a long time.
Right.
And homeless people used to go in there and smoke their dope and stuff,
Okay.
do drugs. And, I think uh, paranormal things like ghosts and stuff like what we have, they go to places like that where
You
a
don't
lot
know
of
what they were doing, do you?
I think what it is remember what I said, the earth, one of the things that the earth does is strengthen our spirit
Yeah.
and makes us strong, where we can have power over the paranormal stuff. But when you do drugs all the time, you're weakening your spirit and you're
Yeah.
making it where these things can come into you. They
Yeah.
can actually take over your body. And so I think that's the reason too why they were there, because the
Okay.
house was used as a drug house.
Yeah.
Uh, but
Certainly
uh,
different energies in a house like that, isn't there?
yeah, really.
From the sort of normal sort of
Plus,
families and
the
what have you.
old lady that used to own the house died in the house.
Okay.
So her spirit might have been in there. She might have been the banshee. I don't know.
Yeah, trying to escape it all.
She was a
Yeah.
elderly lady. I know that. Um,
Okay. It
yeah,
wasn't
just
the
things
land
went
in
on in
any
the
way.
house. What's that?
It wasn't the land under the house anyway.
Wasn't the what in the house?
The land wouldn't have caused anything.
No,
No.
no. Just it was just the things that we saw and the
Yeah.
things that we heard that we thought made it. When we first moved in, we didn't notice anything. It was
Okay.
after we got moved in, settled in, and everything, then we started seeing things. And I think we got used to the house, and they got used to us, so they started showing us things.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Well, these
Right.
people are going to move in. Okay, let's be quiet and let them move in for a while. So
Yeah. Don't scare them
and
yet.
yeah. So after we got in, I've heard this so often too. People moving in a house and they didn't know it was haunted until after they moved in. Well, why? You'd think the ghost would be right there knocking on the door with them. Um, but they don't. When a family moves into a house, they don't notice that stuff until after it get moved in and settled in. Then all of a
I
sudden they're
didn't
going, "Whoa, wait a minute, what's
I
this?"
didn't know. I lived in a
Huh?
pub which had a ghost, and the
Oh,
people came, all the regulars in the pub sort of came in and said all the ghost stories.
oh,
But it was
really?
only like later on he showed himself more. But
Do
yeah,
you have Dead Files over there? Do you watch it?
no, I don't watch a lot of paranormal on TV.
Okay, well,
I've heard of it.
Dead Files is
Sorry.
one of the better programs on TV. The
Okay.
the the host of the show is actually Amy Allen.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
I've heard of Amy Allen.
she
Yeah.
is
Sorry.
she is great. She makes me look like a kindergarten kid when it comes to her abilities.
Wow.
She's really good. But the people wanted her to come into this house and help them get rid of the things that was in the house. Come to find, they, Steve, the other guy that goes around and inspects the house and talks to the family and everything before she comes in. He asked the family how long, when they moved in. They had been in the house like 16 years, I think it was.
Okay.
But they didn't start noticing anything until like 3 years ago or 4 years ago, something like
Oh,
that. So they couldn't figure out how a family could be in a perfectly normal house, and all of a sudden they got
hmm.
all this stuff going on. I mean, uh, everything, things moving and things being thrown, and uh, had apparitions and uh,
Wow.
ghosts walking
Impressive.
around, and they had shadow people, and they had everything going on in this place. It was causing health problems for the wife and health problems
Oh
for one of the
no.
daughters. And come to find out, one of the daughters actually had abilities, and the mother
Ah,
did
okay.
too. They just didn't know it. So a
Yeah.
lot of it was being attracted by them. And one daughter that had abilities was in track at high school, and she fell down in this track practice, I guess, hit her head on something. I guess it was pretty bad, but she came out of it. But after they said after she had that accident, when they started seeing all this stuff too. So
Oh
it could
wow.
have been,
Okay.
since she had abilities, it could have been something that made the ability
Yeah.
stronger or something.
Probably the trauma.
Yeah, yeah,
The
the
trauma
trauma's
of the
probably it.
accident,
Yeah,
there can be a circumstance what actually changes it, and it
yeah,
could be
for
that.
sure.
And
But
also,
anyway,
it's the age of the children sometimes as well, isn't it?
yeah, especially
Um,
a female daughter, when they get it in puberty, a lot of times
yeah,
they, I don't know what causes the female body to stir up anything paranormal, but a lot of times they do,
I
like
had I had
poltergeist.
things here actually when there's
What's that?
I had things in here when there's a young girl between she's about between 6 and 10 at the time,
Yeah,
and when she's near 10, things were sort of happening more,
yeah.
and
You know,
I heard
I think
weird
it's
voices
pretty.
and things
Yeah,
like
I
animal
think it's pretty neat.
growling. I forgot about that.
I think it's pretty neat to live in a haunted place as long as you can live with them.
Yeah,
I think if you're fearful of what's going on, you don't understand it, then you've got a problem. But if you can live in the place, I didn't want to be yelled at in my ear all night long. Number
no, that's
one,
not good. You have to tell them to
because
shut up and be
she'd wake
quiet.
me up out of a sound sleep, and I'd wake
God
up with
no.
my fist double. I was ready to do battle. I didn't know what was going on, and
Oh, you
she'd do
don't
that
want
2 or 3 times a night. I was I don't know what her deal
that.
was, but anyway. And then the shadow people we could live with. We decided to live with them. The flies we just couldn't live with.
No,
They had to
that's
go. So, uh,
oh,
but if you
Joshua.
could learn to live with the stuff that's in your house, the paranormal, I um, I think it'd probably be probably pretty good, fascinating. Anyway, interesting.
Yeah, I
Uh,
kind of have things happen around me, but I go on investigations and some come home with me. It
yeah.
happens.
Um, what was I going to say? Oh, I was told that at one time, religion, science, and paranormal was going to become one. They were going to be together. The reason
Right.
being is it's a thin line right now as it is. If you want to get right into it, religion actually teaches a lot of paranormal stuff, and
Yeah.
science, the things they don't can't prove or whatever is paranormal. Pretty soon they're going to be able to prove it. Then it won't be paranormal.
That's
And
right.
paranormal itself will be a part of that. It's going to be all together. It's going to be one thing. I was told, and I'm pretty sure that that's going to happen. I even used that as a quote in one of my books on the back of the
Oh,
book.
wow.
I got quotes from me. I put them down so I wouldn't forget them.
Okay, so if anybody wants a copy of your book, then they're available from Amazon. Yeah.
Yes, you can get my books at Amazon.com
Okay.
forward slash. I think it's what is it forward slash Allen forward slash author. Try that. That doesn't get you there. Just run a search for uh, on paranormal or Amazon.com. Just run a search for Alan Wright.
Yeah, that's cool.
There's about 3 or 4 Alan Wrights that's got books out there.
Okay, so make sure you get the right one.
Yeah. Put my first book's name in there or title or any book, but uh, it's called Through the Veil and Back. If you put that next to my name, you write Alan Wright, Through the Veil and Back, you'll go right to that book. Then you'll
Right.
be able to go from there to my other books.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. I'm trying to write a book. It's so hard.
What's that?
I'm trying to write a book. It just takes forever.
You know, for me, it's not hard because I was writing about things that I knew, things that happened to me, you know?
Oh, bless you.
Um, so if you did it that way, you wouldn't have too much of a problem with it.
I
Uh,
have. That's what I've done. I've done it. I think it's lack of time more than anything.
Amazon has a great setup for authors where you can be your own publisher, even.
Yeah, I'm doing that route. I've just got
Yeah,
to edit it first. I'm on the
yeah,
editing stage. I
yeah.
didn't realize it would take so long. But
Well,
yeah,
yeah.
I kind of thought I'd finished the book last June. I thought, oh yeah, I just spent a few days on editing it, get it out there. No, I've
Can
rewritten
I
it since then.
can I tell you another little story?
Yeah,
We've got 3 Chihuahuas, like I said,
yeah,
and like I
beautiful.
said, my abilities are becoming stronger and stronger and stronger. And I used to be able to give our Chihuahuas a blessing, and they'd stand there and let me give them a blessing. You know, like if I thought they were sick or whatever,
Oh, bless you.
I could give them a blessing. And it saved quite a big bill at the vets. Uh, by me giving them blessings, getting them healed. But anyway, now I gave our new little dog a blessing, a little Chihuahua, and minute I laid my hands on her and I blessed with my hands on the person. Minute I laid my hands on her and started doing what I say, she collapsed. She collapsed and went down on all fours. I looked at my
Yeah.
wife. I said, "Did I kill her? I
Oh
didn't
my
mean to kill
God.
her, but I put her to sleep. Just absolutely, she went to sleep right there."
Oh, bless her.
And anyway, and then I blessed our other little Chihuahua, and she did the same thing. She went to sleep. And it wasn't so drastic with her, but the one little Chihuahua, boy, she just collapsed. I thought I
Oh
killed
my
her.
God.
Anyway, uh,
That's cool.
yeah,
Oh, I've
but
got a dog and he growls at spirit. So
oh,
yeah,
yeah,
there's
this
a couple
little
of
one that
times
I
he's
told you about. Go ahead.
it's a couple of times like he's met a spirit. Once was in a haunted pub in the UK, and I picked up on
Yeah.
somebody, and he was growling at a chair. And then it's happened about just when about here where my arm is. He was growling at me there because there's something around me, which was cool. But yeah,
Yeah.
I get attachments all the time. It's all good. Yeah. I just can't help it. They find me.
Yeah.
I go to locations. They find me. They want to talk to me. They follow me home. I'm sorry. I shouldn't. I should set my boundaries.
We
But yeah,
really boundaries.
yeah, it's
We
cool.
we sat on the bed to watch our TV, and our bedroom door is open. We know we have spirits here. I know my
Yeah,
mother's spirit's here. My wife's spirit's also here. Lori's. Wife's mother. I said my wife's spirit's here. No, my wife's mother's spirit's here. Forgive me. Wait a minute. Please. Plus, we see spirits of our little pets that we used to have and running around here. So we know they're still here.
oh wow.
So we have quite a few spirits in the house. And our little chihuahua that we got, she lays on the bed, and next thing you know, she's staring out into the kitchen area through the bedroom door. And then she starts growling, and then she'll start barking. And she's got this god awful shrill bark. You know how a chihuahua barks. She's got a
Yeah,
god awful shrill bark. And then the other two, they'll get up and looking around, and they're barking, but they don't know what to bark at, because she's the one that
yeah,
saw them. But yeah, she sees spirits. We know she does. She's getting used to it now.
yeah.
Yeah, she's getting kind of used to it.
Oh
But
wow. But
anyway,
thanks so much for talking to us. It's been brilliant. The astral, yeah, the astral projection's really cool.
yeah.
Yeah, but it must. Yeah, obviously it must have been well scary for ages. Cause
Well, I
yeah.
got some other stuff too. When I come back on sometime, we can talk about the healing things.
Oh wow,
And
cool.
I
Thank
can
you.
do remote healings
Oh,
through emails or texts.
that's brilliant.
Um, like if your dog gets sick, I can give your dog a blessing. Just text me or email me, whatever.
Oh, thank
And
you so much.
yeah, I used to charge for healings, but I don't anymore. I figure it's a gift from God, and that's what I'm going to do. Give it out as a
Oh,
gift.
bless you. Thank you.
And
But I want to thank you so
yeah,
much for your time. I want to thank everyone for watching as well. Thanks for all the comments. Wonderful. Thanks, Joshua, Andy, everyone else watching. Thank you so much. Next week, I'm going to try and do a show. The thing is, I'm going to be in a field in a tent. So I don't quite know what the internet's going to be like. But next week, it's Paranormal Path Peeps with Howard Petrie of the Petrie Tree on the Things Network. So Lois Haddo, my co-host, is going to be taking the show, and hopefully I can join for part of it. But no idea what the internet's going to be like, and it's going to be cold
yeah.
in the UK. But yeah, but oh, thanks so much, Alan. What are you up to now? Are you going to carry on writing or
Well, I've got to continue writing my next book, and
cool?
my wife wants you to contact her after the show if you will. So
Oh, thank
Lori.
yeah, I will do. Yeah, thank you.
Okay,
Thanks
but
so much. But yeah,
like I said,
yeah.
I'm doing readings and healings and stuff like that. That's what I do.
Oh, bless
But
you.
just
But
contact me if you want. You can give out my email address or uh, my phone number. Even you can only text me though.
well,
But
people can contact you on Facebook anyway, can't they?
yeah, Facebook. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. That's a safer
yeah,
way because giving out your number can be a bit
yeah.
ropey. You never know with
Great.
YouTube and stuff, do you?
Yeah.
So always be careful on that one. But thank you so much. It's been wonderful and
Thanks for
looking forward to
having
it.
me today.
All
Thanks,
right. Thanks a lot.
much appreciated. You
Thank
take
you
care
to
now.
your lovely wife as
God
well.
bless all of you. Thanks, guys.
Oh, and you. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye.